And joining us now is Blaine Holt. He's a retired brigadier general with the U.S. Air Force and former deputy military representative to NATO, and Newsmax contributor as well. And Peter Doran is a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome.
Morning.
Good morning.
Not much going on, not much to talk about, right? Well, the newly minted Venezuelan president marked the occasion by publicly embracing the ambassadors of China, Russia, and Iran at her swearing in. What message is she sending to the world and, more importantly, to President Trump? And General Holt, we'll go with you first.
Well, you're going to see America's adversaries looking for, searching for whatever their thoughts might be, because what you can tell is that America's adversaries and America's friends are looking at a newly invigorated United States military that has sharpened its spear, as we talked about when President Trump took his seat. There is no more of this DEI nonsense. And the forces that we saw perform flawlessly, where 800 variables had to go perfectly, gives the president options that he can commit to with force. And then the president looking into all of their faces and saying, I will take these actions if necessary, and he has the confidence in the military to do it. The combination of the president's will to do the right thing and the military's capability to do this has changed the deck and the calculus in capitals around the world, whether they're on our side or not.
To summarize what you said, our boys and girls, well, they're pretty good. Both U.S. allies and rivals condemned the operation that led to Nicolas Maduro's capture at an emergency UN meeting on Monday, saying that the operation sets a precedent for more American intervention around the world. U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz reminded the UN that Maduro is an illegitimate president. Take a look.
Colleagues, Maduro is not just an indicted drug trafficker. He was an illegitimate so-called president. He was not a head of state. The United States wants a better future for Venezuela. We believe a better future for the people of Venezuela and for the people of the region and the world is stabilizing the region and making the neighborhood that we live in a much better and safer place. I want to reiterate, President Trump gave diplomacy a chance. He offered Maduro multiple off-ramps. He tried to de-escalate. Maduro refused to take them.
Peter, what's your reaction? Because it's very clear, even Ana Navarro on The View believes that he should have been removed.
Well, John, I think Ambassador Waltz is doing hero's work there at the United Nations. Ana Navarro on The View put a very fine point on it. Americans like to win. Americans like it when we show leadership, we act swiftly, we act decisively, and notice what President Trump did not do. He did not get us bogged down with a full-scale invasion of Venezuela. This is what you might call a masterstroke by the president. But more importantly than that, John, look at what happened at the United Nations. We've seen the Chinese, the Iranians, and the Russians all clutching their pearls and talking about international law. But when the chips are down, it's the United Nations that is morally bankrupt because it supports brutal dictators like Maduro and prevents anything from changing. And President Trump has said here in the Western Hemisphere, we're not going to take that anymore.
Yeah, I've been saying all week, it's words versus actions. And we had Otto Penn Biden, who didn't do much of anything but took time off out of the White House most of the time. Well, we have Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller. She posted an image of Greenland with the word soon on X over the weekend, shortly after Maduro's capture. And CNN's Jake Tapper asked her husband about it. Let's watch this.
Greenland has a population of 30,000 people, Jake. The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States.
And I just want to quickly play the Prime Minister of Denmark's response here.
Firstly, I believe that the American president should be taken seriously when he says that he wants Greenland. But I also want to make it clear that if the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops. That is including our NATO and thus the security that has been provided since the end of the Second World War.
So General Holt, Stephen Miller asserting that the U.S. has the right to take Greenland. What are your thoughts?
Thank you for showing our audience a brain cramp that Jake Tapper was having. It's awesome. Look, the thing is, she has not read the national security strategy. What she has not understood is that if she had read it, what she'd understand is that the Bretton Woods Agreement, the post-World War II agreements, they weren't destroyed by this president. They were destroyed by Europe that kicked the three legs of the stool right out from under the stool. Prosperity, security, and most importantly, Western European values. Here's why Greenland is so important. So it's not about nothing. It's not the minerals. It's not any of that garbage. Listen, we're in an age of hypersonic weapons. And if some rogue power was to gain space or land on Greenland and could position hypersonic weapons that are nuclear tipped, we no longer have an early warning deterrence. We no longer have any reaction time whatsoever. It's a very deadly serious game. And so I don't know that Greenland's going to come into the United States at all. But what the president's really flashing is what the threats to the United States and the Western Hemisphere are going to be answered. They're going to be dealt with because in the NSS, we are going to protect our neighborhood first and foremost. We're shifting our policies. If she says NATO's over, she's on the right track. It's almost over. But they did it, not us.
Besides, what's wrong with going green? I thought going green was good, right, Peter? Well, Peter,
Orange land.
I want you to actually get your take on this. Do you think there's conversations behind the scene with regard to U.S. and, let's say, NATO countries and really saying, look, what does the next 10, 20 years look like with regard to protecting our NATO allies against Russian threat and other threats militarily? That strategically, to Blaine's point, is America having access, full unfettered access to Greenland in order to defend and thwart any future threats by Putin. What say you?
Well, John, I have to say, I think the White House's meme game is on point. I think they're being intentionally a bit trollish here, but it underscores something more important. Let's all ask ourselves, why is it that in the 21st century, we still have a European colony? That's right, Greenland is a colony of Denmark here in the Western Hemisphere. Going all the way back to President Monroe, the United States has said there will no longer be any European meddling in our hemisphere. President Trump backed that up with his new national security strategy. And so while I don't expect to see Delta Force flying in low 100 feet over the waves into Greenland anytime soon, I do think it does open the space for a serious conversation about Denmark's role in our hemisphere. And I see a very reasonable and peaceful outcome here, setting all of the memes and trolling aside.
Interesting.
They are masterful with that. Well, quickly touching upon the ongoing protests in Iran with the time we have left here, we're now seeing reports the regime is offering $7 payouts. Is this the government trying to buy off the streets because it's worried, or does it show they think they can outlast the demonstrators with a mix of cash and crackdowns? Blaine, we'll go with you first.
It's the ninth inning in Iran. And right now you have a regime that has already planned, I know this personally from some good sources, has already planned about 3 to 4 possible exile locations for its top leaders to go to. And we did hear a little bit yesterday about the Ayatollah looking into Moscow real estate, and that's very true. but they're going to make whatever overtures they can, because the bullets are already flying now in both directions, because the people have started to remove weapons from the guards, and then the other part is a lot of the national police are now turning over and becoming part of the population. This is no longer protests, and it has to be said, this is a revolution that could fail still. It's fragile. But I have seen C-17s filled with America's best creeping slowly towards the Middle East, and it's sending a message. And since now the Ayatollah has no doubts about the president giving a go order, they're reassessing their options. I imagine there's back-channel communications with both China and Russia about how this is going to end. I don't think it ends with a massive invasion force. I do think that the Iranians are going to reclaim their freedom, and we're going to see a new Iran emerge, and that's good for the world.
Absolutely. An internal collapse. That's good for the world. Thank you so much, Blaine and Peter.